Hello and welcome to Shannon Gardens. Thank you guys so much for joining me. So in today's video, I wanted to share with you guys what's currently going on in the garden, what's new in there, what's currently blooming here in early spring, and a couple of new additions, as well as a couple of surprises. So I thought I would take you guys out with me as I am about to go feed the birds, and we'll just walk around together and check out what's new and how the garden looks as of today. All right, so with that, let's get to it. All right, so first I wanted to show you guys this new pathway that we've built actually in the last couple of weeks. And obviously this is more of a naturalistic pathway. It's an informal to match and go with my informal garden. I wasn't looking for anything formal or fancy and costly. This was an inexpensive way to define a path that I use on a daily basis when I go to the bird feeders. And it really was just a few bags of mulch and then buying these rocks from a local gardening center. And I'm so pleased with the definition. I actually didn't know that it would be this defining and so striking to me and change the look of the garden area. It definitely makes it look more purposeful, and I'm just so pleased with the end result. So that's one bigger addition that we did. And then off the path, I have this new Illicium plant, which I'm so excited to add to the collection. This is Illicium Mrs. Scarlett. Just look at these pretty red blooms here. They're covering the plant right now. This is a spring bloomer, and it is marked for part shade to shade. It is good for zones 7 through 10. Now, as you can see, the new growth here comes in this chartreuse color, and then it turns into this darker green. This is an evergreen shrub that gets 4 to 6 feet high and 3 to 4 feet wide. Now, I already have an Illicium parviflorum Florida Sunshine, which I've done a video about. I absolutely love that plant and have had them for years, and I'll link that video in the description if you're interested in learning more about that. But I am very excited to add to my Illicium collection. Now, this plant will get morning sun and afternoon shade. It is placed underneath one of the weeping hollies that we have here, and I really planted it for a couple of reasons, not only to add interest to the garden, but also to provide a little bit of additional privacy with our neighboring house. And so it's serving a couple of different purposes, which is nice as well. And I'm very, very excited about this addition to the garden. Next up, we have the Baptista or false indigo, and I absolutely love these flowers. They are beautiful. My only complaint is I wish that they lasted longer and they bloomed longer, but I'm so appreciative every time they come in the spring. Now, these are on very tall stalks. Let me show you guys so you can get an idea of how these look. As you can see, there's a lot of buds, so these are really going to be coming into their own in the next few weeks. And one thing I will say is I love the foliage of these plants as well, and really like using them actually in my flower arrangements, even in the summertime. So even though they don't have blooms all summer and it's just a spring bloomer, I really utilize the plant even in the summer as well. So I just think it's a beautiful plant. I love these soft gray-green leaves, and that's something to really bear in mind, and that I try to bear in mind too when I am buying plants, is to look at the plant as a whole, not just the flower, but also the foliage, and if it has year-round interest as well, which this one does not. Actually, it dies back in the winter, but it's absolutely beautiful, and it's such a lovely addition to the garden, and just something that I absolutely look forward to seeing it bloom every year. Next, I have some periwinkle that is blooming, that actually is just stopping blooming. And so I think this is the last one that I have right now, but I did want to show that. That's been one of the first things that's bloomed in the garden this spring, and it was very, very welcome when everything was just starting to green up. Now, speaking of the weeping hollies, these are some of my favorite trees that we have. They are in full bloom right now, and we have a lot of bees, as you can see here. And I wish you guys could hear them because they are very, very plentiful right now. A lot of honeybees on these trees. So they are really unbothered by me. I've been walking through in and out of these trees for days now, and they just are unfazed. They are very focused on what they're doing here, but I love these small little blooms that are just covering the trees in the springtime. And I actually love the trees themselves and the structure of the trees, the weeping nature. I just think that they are absolutely beautiful. I'll try to pan up here so you guys can get a better view of how they look overall. But these are absolutely beautiful. And then of course they are the hollies, so they get the red berries in the wintertime, and just beautiful, beautiful trees. We do trim these to a degree because they can get a little out of hand sometimes, and so we do trim them up sometimes. But all in all, we pretty much leave them alone to do their thing. And here's a bee happily enjoying the flower from this tree. And like I said, in the busiest part of the day, these are just covered in bees. So it's really something quite to behold. Now here is probably one of the oldest plants I have, which is this Clematis. I do not know the type. I apologize. I wish I did, but it is absolutely enormous. Now I have actually pulled a sprig from this last year and planted it in a different location, which I'll show you guys in just a moment. But it is beautiful and just covering this area. So it has the most blooms in the spring, and then will bloom sporadically in the summer and into the fall as well. But just look at all these blooms right now. It's just covered, and I love the leaf color because it's so nice and bright and green, and just such a springy addition to the garden as well. And I wanted to show you guys the Clematis from the other side as well. We do have it growing through the fence, so I just think that that adds a lot of softening and color to the fence and looks so nice. Now I know that this does not look like much now, but this is very exciting to me. This is a part of the Clematis that I just showed you. I actually divided that Clematis, or took some sprigs from it last year, and planted this one here. I genuinely thought it had died. There was no green at the end of the summer, and I thought that that just didn't take and wasn't doing well. And then lo and behold, this spring, this is what I found. I am absolutely thrilled and shocked, but this should cover this trellis pretty quickly, and then it will look like that other Clematis and fill in so nicely. It'll be a wall of color and will help provide some additional definition to the garden, because this is in the backdrop of the garden, as well as providing additional privacy between us and our neighbors as well. So it is twofold, and it's just going to be beautiful. And like I said, I really was not anticipating that this was going to come back, so I was absolutely shocked when I saw this here about a week or so ago. All right, you guys, and as I was going to show you the next plant, I have my little friend here in the garden as well. And gosh, this rat snake is probably about, I'm gonna say 4 feet. And yeah, it's just hanging out in the garden, minding its own business. So I'm just gonna let it go on its merry way and go to the next flower. Now here I have the Verbena Homestead Purple, and just look at all these blooms, you guys. This is doing so well. It's been blooming for a couple of weeks at least now. This is something that I planted last year, so I'm actually really surprised at its growth. And I haven't always had the best luck with Verbena, but this seems to be a great spot for it, where it's getting morning sun and afternoon shade for the most part. It is under a weeping holly. I actually have a few of these in the garden, so you'll see that I have several things planted under these trees. I have some suet there as well. The woodpeckers actually prefer to come to this suet feeder, but I've got this Homestead Purple here, and it's just doing so nicely and is draping over the retaining wall here, which I absolutely love as well. I think I might even try to incorporate that more, because I just think adding that and having it drape over a wall like that really makes it look kind of cottagey, and I love the look of it. Now, one thing I wanted to show you guys, I have a hose right here, as you'll see, and I'm going to insert a picture of our little friend that I actually took yesterday. So I'll insert that now, but I was distracted by these Verbena, and I turned on my hose to go water some plants, but was not looking at the hose, was within a few inches of grabbing the hose and happened to look down, and that is what I saw was this snake coiled on top. So I was about to get a fistful of snake and luckily looked down in time before I grabbed the snake instead of the hose. So I wanted to share that with you guys as well. That was quite surprising when I noticed that, and thank goodness I noticed in time right before I was about to grab that. All right, here we have the Boulevard Acropolis Clematis. This is one that I planted probably a couple of years ago, and there are lots of buds that are just starting to open here. I'll show you a close-up of this one, how beautiful that color is, and it's about to be covered in all these blooms. I love having vining plants and just having different heights and different things to look at in the garden, and I'm so pleased to see that this is blooming now. This just started probably about a week or so ago. Now here I have salvia, and I just want you guys to see how many blooms are on this salvia. I cannot believe the amount of blooms, and so early in the season as well. This is just one plant here that's covered in these. I actually have had this salvia for years and years, and it is just really putting on a show this spring. These blooms will last through the fall, and I'm so glad that it's already blooming because we have hummingbirds already visiting the garden, and I even saw a hummingbird this morning, which I recorded here, and was so excited to see the hummingbird at the plant. So it's nice to have something in addition to the feeders already blooming out here for the hummingbirds as well. Now I do have a second salvia plant that's already started blooming. These are the first couple of blooms here. This is a newer one that I planted, I believe, last year, and I do know the name of this one, which is the Vibe Ignition Fuchsia salvia, and this is a dwarf variety, and this has just started blooming. Like I said, it's got more buds here, which will be opening up here shortly, but I wanted to share that with you guys as well. So this one just started, but the other one has been blooming for a good couple of weeks now at least. Now, if you guys watched the video from a couple of weeks ago when I was preparing to welcome in the hummingbirds, you'll see that I did plant some Speedwell and some Salvia. So I've got the Speedwell here that is still blooming, and then the Dianthus, which I just deadheaded, and I see a lot of new blooms here. And then I've got the Salvia, which is happily blooming here. And I do think that I will probably be planting both of these in my perennial garden here in the next couple of weeks. But for right now, I am happy to have these in the pots, and I think that they just look very, very pretty and are adding some color closer to the house and closer to where we've been sitting outside now that the weather's gotten a little bit warmer. I also have my Dianthus here that I planted a couple of weeks ago as well in the container. And again, I think that this is something that I'll be adding to my perennial garden, but for right now, I absolutely love it in the pot, and it smells divine. Now here I have reblooming snapdragons. These are snapdragons that I planted in the fall, and these are reblooming now, and you can tell that they are so healthy and it just looks so nice. I was really surprised to see them come back and was so excited to see them come back as well. So these are some additional snapdragons that I had planted in fall and that are coming back here in the springtime as well. Now we have several different knockout rose bushes in the landscape and in containers, and this is one here. This is probably our biggest one, and I would say it is a good 5 feet tall, even though I did cut it back, and it is covered with buds. So this is about to really show out here in the next few weeks, but it's just beautiful, and I wanted to share with you guys what it looks like currently. I'm really hoping that our Japanese beetles, which have attacked this plant, and this has been the only one the last few years, I'm really hoping that they don't come back this year, and I hope that it can remain intact this year and not get attacked as it has been the last few years. It's actually rather odd because the Japanese beetles haven't bothered the other ones, but continue to come to this one. So I'm not quite sure why, but I will take it right now in all its beauty. Now here we have our double knockout roses, which are in a container, and there's blooms all over this bush right now, and it'll bloom continuously through the summer. And I just cannot express enough how much I like these because they're just so low maintenance. So if you're looking for an easy to grow rose that's low maintenance and just doesn't require a lot of the hand holding that so many other roses do. I would have to say that this has to be one of the easiest ones that I've found to work with. And then you guys, I had to include this as well. You have the male bluebird outside his nesting box right there, and I scrolled down to see this American robin eating below, and then I went back up, and hopefully you guys can make this out, but the female bluebird is peeping her head out of that nesting box. And then right to the left of me, as I was recording, a hummingbird flew into the feeder and started drinking from here. And so I just wanted to capture all that and include it because that's definitely a wonderful part of gardening as well. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm so excited for all these blooms to come through, and I'm seeing so many buds on a lot of my plants as well. So it's always so exciting to see that rejuvenation in spring, and I'm so happy to share that with you guys. So thank you so much again. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and until next time, happy gardening and goodbye.